Right, so let's calculate what an approximate value of the sine of 0.07 would be. Right, so in this case, you'll pretty much get the same answer using degrees or radians, but we should be thinking about this as 0.07 radians, not degrees. Um, so things we need in order to find a linearization, and this is a good question to always fall back on if you're unsure working with linearization. So first thing we need is a function that we can take the derivative of, a function that we can approximate whatever we're using. Almost always is going to be the operation. So this is the sine of 0.07. So our function should be the operation sine of x. Right? So what number are we evaluating? What are we taking the sine of? This is x. We're taking the sine of 0.07 radians. So now we need to figure out what's some value close to 0.07 that we can easily evaluate in sine. So if we think like unit circles, where we can do sine of 0, we can do the sine of pi over 6 and pi over 4 and pi over 3. The closest of those values to 0.07 is just going to be 0. So let's use a is equal to 0. Next thing we need is a derivative. So if f of x is sine of x, we just saw that the derivative of sine is going to be the cosine of x. And then once we have those things, let's just throw everything into our linearization formula. So we're trying to evaluate, remember, f of x is the sine of x. So we're trying to evaluate 7/100ths. We can do that with the linearization, so 0.07. So that's going to be f of, right? This is x minus a, three a's in your linearization. So our value of a was 0. So each of those are zeros. Our value of x was 0.07. So f of 0, that's the sine of 0. So the derivative was the cosine. That's going to be the cosine of 0. 0.07 minus 0 is just 0.07. Sine of 0, do it over here. So sine of 0 is going to be 0. Cosine of 0 is going to be 1. 0.07 minus 0 is just 0.07. So then our linearization is 0.07. So this is not very exciting, I know, but it's saying that the sine of 7/100ths is approximately 7/100ths. Now we could check that, right? So if I wanted to, I could just throw this into a calculator. Do I have a calculator here? Indeed, I have a calculator. So mode radians. So if I took the sine of 0.07, I get 0.069942, which is really, really close to 0.07, right? So our approximate or linearization was really, really, really accurate, right? So 0.07 minus this guy right there, I should engender that number, 0.00005. So what's that? 5/10, hundreds, thousands, something, 5/10,000ths off, right? So it's a phenomenal approximation with very little actual mathematical work.